So next,
for the computer that I recommend.
Next, we've got some role-playing games. And the first one of these is one that I remember recommending all the way back in the first episode. I talked about how Lone Wolf had a really foundational role in me becoming the gamer that I am today, the terrible nerd that I am today. So the Lone Wolf series...
You know what? For the patrons, I'm going to post a picture of you in your pool of Lone Wolf material.
I got a comment from the author.
So if you want to see James looking like American Beauty, but
with clothes on,
but in a pool of role-playing books, subscribe to Patreon.
So Lone Wolf is a fairly derivative but well-made fantasy game book series originally, in which you play as Lone Wolf.
Yeah.
A sort of medieval paladin, Jedi Knight, Rangers type.
Icelandic sort of inspiration, isn't it?
Vaguely Icelandic inspiration. In the first book, your entire order of Kai Lords is massacred by the Dark Lords. And you, the lone survivor, by virtue of being out cutting firewood when your monastery got attacked and then knocking yourself out on a tree branch, you go from there over a 20-book series until you are the most epic level character storming the gates of hell single-handedly to rescue a goddess. It's a massive ongoing story. Unlike a lot of game books from the 80s, this one had a persistent world, persistent characters, and you played the same character in every book, and you got to level him up from his beginnings as the worst up to epic levels.
And you don't have to play on hardcore mode. You can just record your deaths and be like, oh haha, let's go back to a save point.
Which is what I do every time I wind up replaying it.
But there are some people out there who play hardcore mode. It's crazy.
So the reason why I'm recommending Lone Wolf, the books themselves are ridiculously hard to find now. They're collector's items and they command a lot of money. But before the author, Joe Deaver, passed away, there was a period of time around the turn of the millennium where the series had gone out of print and it looked unlikely that it would go back in print. And he gave the rights to publish the books online to the internet for free.
Woohoo!
And
Go
so
Joe.
a fan community, even when he managed to get them back into print, he let that website continue and have free downloads of all of the books. So as a result, you can go to Project Aeon and you can download all of the books in whatever format you want, or you can play them in HTML. You can download an app to keep track of your stats for you, and you can play through the entire series for free, as well as most of the spin-off materials as well. So if you want to try doing The Grapes of Wrath, but it's post-apocalyptic Mad Max, you can play that series there for free as well.
Nice. Alright.
So that's my first recommendation for role-playing. And the second one is a lovely little game called Doe, Pilgrims of the Flying Temple. This is another one that's been out of print for a while, but you'll just need to get yourself the PDF of it, which is very cheap. In Doe, you play a bunch of young pilgrims from the monastery in the middle of all worlds. It's a world kind of inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Little Prince. You fly around from world to world. Some of these worlds are planet-sized, some of them are just big enough to have a single house on them. People write you letters because they've got problems, and your job is to go and sort out their problems for them while making things worse for them and yourself in the process. It's a very easy game. It's very rules light.
We managed to play it on just through Facebook Messenger and Google Drive with a friend of ours.
Yes.
Good fun.
It's a very uplifting game. There's no violence. There's no risk to your characters. You just try to help, get into trouble and make things a bit worse, and generally sort everything out happily by the end. Very nice, very easy game. Good for children. Good for everyone. Another role-playing game that I recommend, like Lone Wolf, is called Fabled Lands. This was a book series where instead of the traditional, very story-driven game books that you got with Lone Wolf or Fighting Fantasy, which is like the example, Fabled Lands was a sandbox RPG. And the conceit was that every book in the series was a different country. And so if you went to the borders of the country, it would tell you to turn to a page reference in the next book along.
Have we got these? I want to play these.
We've got a couple of them.
Cool.
But the best thing with them is that you can download a computerized version of them that puts all of them together into one single game.
Awesome.
And it is completely free what you want to do. So you can just be a merchant. You can sail up and down the coast, buying low, selling high, and then buy yourself some townhouses. You can take part in the Civil War, and you can decide which side you're going to support. You can go and you can pick which character class you're going to play. You've got heaps of freedom. It's a really fun series. There's only about the first, I think, 6 of them came out originally. I think since then, they've been re-released and they've managed to release some of the later books in the series that were planned but never happened. But it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed playing through it in the computerized version, getting access to the books that I never actually had physically.